Fine, good afternoon all. This is Patricia and I'm traveling for history. I'm in South Hero, Vermont today, and this is the Honeymoon Cabin. It's part of the South Hero Bicentennial Museum since 1976, and I'm really thrilled to say we're going to be talking with Colleen Bushway today, and she's going to tell us all about it. So, welcome, Colleen.
Welcome, Patricia.
So nice to see you, because we spoke last night on the phone, and I had a really great time talking to you. So I know you told me about this last night, so really looking forward to it.
So come on in.
All righty. Woohoo. Wow. Wow.
This is the Honeymoon Cabin.
Wow. You know, it's bigger than I thought, actually.
Yeah. There was Lilian Axtell is the one who bought the island house in 1917, and she was the visionary for building these 3 cabins. The train came into the islands in 1901, and she wanted to take full advantage of the tourists.
Absolutely.
So she did a lot of improvements to the inn, and she changed the name to the South Hero Inn. So currently the building still exists, but it is now the community bedding. And this is an overview picture that was taken sometime in the early 70s, and my father bought it. This shows the piece of property. This is the South Hero Inn, which is the current bank. This back here was the White Horse Lounge. It was originally located down South Street at Ebenezer Allen's Tavern, which was the first tavern in the islands, and that was moved up here. This was the ice house. This was the carriage house for the stagecoaches and the overnight carriages, and this was the barn for the horses.
Now, I filmed the South Hero Inn last year. I remember this, and I think that building is still standing.
This one's still standing. And then this, she built the cabins. This was a lawn, and she built the cabins here.
Okay.
So the cabin that we're in is this one here in the middle, because it was the least affected by weather.
Okay.
And
makes sense.
I don't know how long it was used as a honeymoon cabin. There doesn't seem to be any information on that at all.
Wow.
But when my father bought the inn, the first cabin was used, well, the cabins were all used for storage of things that had been taken out of the inn that was no longer in use. So when he closed the inn in 1980 something, my mother said, I always wanted a craft shop. So my father redid this, put a ceiling up, put walls up, shelving all the way around it.
In here?
In here. And it became the ABC Craft Shop.
Son of a gun.
My mother's name is Anna. My sister's name is Betty. My name is Colleen. ABC.
Wow.
And so I do have some Fentex yarn in a couple of projects out on the porch.
Wow.
That were made with Fentex yarn. But she was a Fentex yarn dealer. They had a big place in Plattsburgh, so it was easy enough for her to get there.
Is that yarn still made?
No. Well, I think the yarn is still made, but the Fentex place is no longer there in Plattsburgh. So when the museum had the chance to get this building, I said, if the town will give you a spot to put it on, take it.
Absolutely.
So we took the building, and we did a little bit of fundraising, and everything that's in this building was all done with that money and volunteers. So we've put a lot of work and sweat effort into it, and then in the spring, when we decided that we were going to open it a little bit earlier than we had planned on, a woman came and she said, oh, I have these bedspreads. And so we picked this one because this one was more of the time frame. It's chenille, and the pattern and the way it was made would have been in that particular time frame that the cabin was built for.
So homemade?
Yes.
Handmade, rather.
Handmade, yeah.
That is an incredible amount of work.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we've kind of stripped it back to what it was, because I wanted it to be like the original. And these are how the windows opened. So the curtains had to be made to fit the window. Otherwise, they would hang down.
Yes.
And it would affect the maneuverability in the cabin. So this is the first chapter in the life of the cabin. And the last chapter in the life of the cabin is, it was used as a playhouse down on South Street by Tim Maxim's children. And this was their playhouse, and so they wrote their names, they've got the footprints, the handprints, and everything else.
Oh, that's amazing.
And I said, we are not changing this door.
Oh my gosh, no.
And so Tim was really good to arrange to get us the pictures of the kids when they were in here and the kids today.
Wow. That is amazing. Sort of like when you see the hash marks for the height on the frame. But this is even better. I mean, my gosh, how cool is that? And the little baby footprints.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So
that's so sweet.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we're keeping the door.
Absolutely. Why would you paint that? That's
Exactly.
a great piece of history. So what has been redone in here?
Well, the roof had to be redone.
Makes sense.
And
So the trusses are all new.
so these are, I think a lot of these trusses are trusses that my dad put in.
Oh, okay.
There was maybe 2 that had to be replaced. And there's some of the boarding up against where the roof sets had to be replaced. Some of the outside boardings had to be replaced. The deck on the porch had to be replaced. But yeah, it's as close to its original as we could possibly get it. And we don't actually know how it was set up inside, but logically I think it would be like this. Now, in the 1930s, late 30s, early 40s, the owner of the inn decided to put little bathrooms on.
Oh,
So that's why that door is there. That's not a full width door, because that was just to go into the bathroom.
makes sense too. Let's see. So I see a chamber pot, right? Yeah, it's a chamber
Yes.
pot down there. I love the globe. I love hearts on things, and not hearts, flowers on things. So, refresh my memory of the date of the
This
home.
was built around 1917, 1918.
Wow. Wow.
And actually, it's held up pretty good,
Considering, yes.
especially our winters up here.
Oh, I know. I've been here in the fall filming, and it was cold enough for me. All the wind off the lake. Woo!
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very cold. Oh, pretty. That's a lovely mirror as well. Oh. So when this was used as what they actually called honeymoon cabins? Were they?
That's what they were built as, yes.
So couples would come here and they stay here after they were
Yes,
married.
because in the inn itself, they had bunk beds built on the walls, and they were not very wide, and if those were full, the travelers put their robes on the floor and slept on the floor. And so there was no privacy whatsoever. So Lilian's plan was to get young couples and build the tourist industry in the town. So that's why she built these 3 cabins. And
An entrepreneur.
yes, and she also revamped a lot in the inn itself. She put new hardwood floors in there. She had a generator installed, so there was electricity, hot and cold running water in the inn.
That's hard to believe.
It is.
Yeah.
It's very hard to believe.
Yeah.
And she was a very forward thinker.
Now, did she become wealthy at all? Or-
I don't think she was really wealthy. She was born here in Grand Isle as part of the Robinson family. And she married a guy from Kansas, and a brother of hers moved to Kansas, and so her brother and her husband partnered in some kind of a business out there. Then her brother and her husband died. I don't know the relationship between the time frames, but they died, and so she ended up coming back here to Grand Isle, and so when she bought the inn, she ventured with her brother, Joanne, or Joanne, however you want to say it, Juan. It's not pronounced easy for me. But anyway, so they ran it until 1919.
Wow, that's amazing. It always warms my cockles of my heart when a woman is an entrepreneur in this era, like the woman who grew the apples. Laura Allen? Laura Allen.
Yeah, Laura Allen.
Yeah. So something neat I learned in the South Hero Museum a little bit ago. So, yeah. So I love that. So I'm thrilled that she had the foresight to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So good for her. The bed is so low. Was that typical? Or does it need would it take a box spring normally?
Well, they didn't have box springs back then.
Oh, that makes yes.
The chances are that it was either stuffed horsehair or straw or corn husks. So it was it might have been a little bit higher, but for right now, we wanted to open up. So
I was just curious. Yeah.
But this is the size of the bed.
You really have to love each other.
But back then, also, people were smaller. They didn't have the nutrition that we have today. So,
and they worked
from the time they got up in the morning till the time they went to bed at night.
And walked everywhere.
Yeah,
true. Wow, this is an amazing place. Wow. So it stays here year round. It's not moved anyplace.
No,
it's permanent.
But it will close in October.
Let me just pause this for a moment. Did you want to come through?
Do you mind if we just...
Tourists are good.
Yes.
We love tourists. I used to volunteer at the East Island Homestead in Burlington, so we love tourists. Absolutely. I was a tour guide.
Yeah. Well, I just do this because it's mine. I love it.
And it shows.
Because, my sister was here earlier, and she says, I can't believe how small it is. It seemed to be bigger when we owned it. And I said, well, maybe that's because of all the stuff that was in it when we owned it.
Well, it would be good for storage.
Yes.
Sure. It's got a lot of boxes in here.
Yeah.
So what was in the bathroom?
So when it was remodeled in the late 1930s and early 40s, from that stud there to this stud there was a little bump out, maybe 2 feet wide, toilet on one side, sink on the other. That was it.
So they didn't shower here?
No.
No bathing?
And then they put electricity came through a little round hole up in the ceiling, went out that way. There was one little light in the middle, and each one of these buildings were connected on the same line.
What a good idea.
Coming from the end.
So that little hole up there, is that the hole, would you say?
Her mother...
It looks like it has a plug in it. Up on that, you see what I mean?
It could have been, yeah.
Yeah. Huh. So neat. I mean, I'm easily amazed anyway, but this is just wonderful. So how long would someone typically stay here? Just overnight? And then they go back to wherever they came from?
They were probably just passing through on the train, and so they would stop here for one night. I don't imagine they would stay a week.
Okay.
Because they're most likely on their way to Montreal.
Okay. All right. Wow. Okay. I thought the train went to Canada, but...
Yep, it went to Rouse's Point and to Noyen, Quebec.
So, I said Rouse's Point where?
To Rouse's Point, which is in New York, and then to Noyen, Quebec.
Oh.
And then from there, the Canadian train went into Montreal.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, last year I filmed the Alberg Pump Station, which was part of the Rutland Railroad buildings. So it's lovely to have connections with these things.
Yes.
Yes. Wow. Pretty amazing. So how many volunteers did it take to bring this back to life?
Oh, probably 10 of us.
A village.
And yeah. I mean, I had certain things that I wanted to do. I wanted to strip the windows and repaint them, so I did that. I did the curtains. We've had 3 men here that one is a plumber, but he dabbles in construction type stuff and repairs. And so the repairs got done. We had a local roofing outfit who did the roof, donated their time.
Wow.
All we had to pay for was the materials. And then we've had people that have come in and helped to clean it. And
So who was the roofing company? Let's give them a little plug.
you'd have to ask Terry
Okay.
for the roofing
All right.
company.
Must as well give them a shout out being so good.
Yeah,
What was I going to ask?
definitely.
So the clothing, where did the clothing come from? Is that original?
That was something that was found in a trunk in the museum.
Of course it was.
and I said, "Oh, that's perfect." And so then the woman that I was talking with, she says, "Well, what about this? This isn't any good." And I said, "Yeah, that was the man's. Men wore night shirts."
They sure did.
And of course, this is obviously it's put this way for a reason because it's been patched. But you know, that's the way things were. You didn't just get rid of something and go to the store.
No, you fixed stuff.
You couldn't get to the store. There wasn't a store. You had to make do with what you had.
Absolutely. Wow. And besides, things were, when I was at the museum, there was 2 pair of, I forget the kind of boots they were, but they were $8 a pair back in 1919 or something.
Yeah.
$8.
$8 was a lot of money.
It was like a month's worth of pay for most. Yeah, so a wealthy family had owned those pair of boots. But yeah, so how much did it cost to rent this? Do you know?
I don't know.
Okay.
We haven't really found anything.
Oh, that's right.
We didn't find anything when we bought the inn.
Mm-hmm.
We found a lot of papers and stuff, but we didn't find anything that went back this far. The museum has a register that goes back further.
I saw that.
But different people who owned the property either kept something or they said, "Oh, I don't need this," and they got rid of it. So I haven't really found anything. I keep my eyes open, but I haven't really found anything.
Yes, indeed. Well, this is so much fun. I mean, yeah, I'm just tickled by stuff like this. It's lovely. It really is. Well, let me just get this lamp over here. So, would they have used kerosene, I
Yes.
think? Yeah. Oh, it does say that right there. If I watch a little closer. Wow, that's lovely. Is that also, is that just made to look old? Or is that vintage?
I don't think that it was really made to look old. I think that it is old. I don't know if it goes back quite that far. But I do think that because the top is etched, that's the type of thing that they did, the quality of work that they did in the 1920s.
It is beautiful. And the fact that it has a handle makes it so easy to carry.
Well, yeah, and you would have had to carry it from the inn out here if you were coming in. If you came on the late stage and you ate at the inn, by the time you got on eating, it was probably dark.
No doubt. This is the first time I've seen a handle on one. So it's just, you can tell it's utilitarian. Yeah, and beautiful.
Yeah.
So, yes. Wow. Is there anything else you want to share about this place?
Not that I can think of.
I think you did a really great job. So So again, I'd like to thank Colleen Bushway, and you are with the Grand Isle Historical Society.
I am also a board member of the South Hero Bicentennial Museum. That's the capacity that I am here today in, is the museum.
So they all knew you. They all, when I walked in, and they were looking for someone to talk about things. They mentioned you, but she's at the honeymoon cabin, and so Terry and Roy Phelps, Ron. I will get his name right someday. Anyway, they came over to talk. Anyway, I want to thank you so much. So this is Patricia. I'm traveling for history. This is the Honeymoon Cabin in South Hero, Vermont. And so when does it open?
Right now we're open the 4th Saturday of the month from 10 to 1.
Okay. So are you're not open in the winter?
No, we won't be open after Columbus Day weekend.
Oh, so in October.
No.
All right. And you open when? What month? Memorial Day?
Memorial Day.
Okay. So a long season.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.